People out there, people often come to my office, to other elected officials on a local level. They come with immigration issues, federal issues. And we as individuals are only as good as our relationships with people like yourself. When you know, uh, when people come with a problem, and I can go to Congressman Towns, or I can go to whoever it might be on a federal level, and they get things done for us. And your office is always responsive. It's always great to deal with the people in your office, and we get things done, and that's really what it's all about.
I think what people need to also understand is very important. We talk about both of you being in office 26 years. Seniority is something that's irreplaceable. People think that, oh, we'll put someone else in, they'll do better or whatever. Seniority is something that you guys understand better than I do as
No,
well.
no question
But
about it.
you can do a lot more than anybody else that's going to come in as a freshman. So you don't waste that kind of seniority.
You were talking about your relationship with the community in Williamsburg, and I know that you have been involved for decades in terms of the black and the Jewish community, and more recently, you and I have worked together. We did all kinds of events. Something happens, an anti-Semitic act or a racist act, you and I stand together with a lot of other elected officials from throughout the city of New York. But you've been doing that all your life.
Right, and I want to thank you too for pulling us together, the group that we have here in New York. I mean, it is just, it's just so important to have that dialogue as we go along. But if I look back over the years, and when you look at the progress that we made, especially in terms of the black community, that the Jewish community was always there. I mean, when you look back at Swerner Goodman, and of course, and Cheney, who died in Mississippi, and fighting for our rights. And then when you look across the board in terms of how many people lost their lives fighting for us to have the right to vote. And every time you look at it, you'll find that the Jewish community was always there. So what I've tried to do is to remind members of the United States Congress, especially in terms of blacks, of course, and Jewish members of Congress, that there's been this strong working relationship down through the years that's brought about progress. So therefore, we should continue it. We should work together. And then now, I've been doing that in Washington. And then for you to do it here in the city, I just think it makes so much sense. Young people do not know the history. And I think that when you bring us together, we can talk about it, and then they can learn from it. Because I'm telling you, a lot of the progress that was made, when you look and you stop and you analyze it, you will find that the Jewish community was there. That coalition was strong. That coalition brought about change in a positive way. And I think that we should never, never forget it. And of course, I want you to know that's something that I think about all the time. And that's the reason why I'm happy that I'm old enough to have been involved and remember that. Some people don't remember. They don't seem to know anything about that.
One of the other things, and I've mentioned this over the years because it was such a great feeling for me. You have an amazing record of support for Israel. I mean, amazing, unblemished. You're just there. You understand the situation. You've been to Israel, and I've talked about this. I remember a couple of years ago. I mean, it's quite a few years now when I was collecting money for bulletproof vests. Right? I tell that story. These were $1,300, and we ended up collecting, about $300,000, and I was reaching out to my friends, and most of the time, political people are much better at taking money than giving it. And I've told you this. It was a Friday. I remember it as if it was today. I reached out to you. I got you in Washington. And I told you what I was doing, what it was about. It was for medics in the West Bank who were going out to save lives, and they were being shot at. And I'll never forget. I reached out to you, got you in Washington. Didn't have to give you a long explanation. You didn't tell me to fax you a note about the details. You just asked me, what do we make out the check to? And you got somebody else to participate. I'll never forget that. You were there in a real way. Not just words, but really being there, and I'll always appreciate it because you made my life easier. The situation in Israel. One of the things that is of great concern to me is, you know, the rockets that continue to fall in places like Sderot and many other communities outside of Gaza. I mean, for us as Americans, New Yorkers, the idea that you live in a community and you never know when a rock is going to fall right on your doorstep.
Right. And that's the reason why I think that we should never forget, first of all, Israel has a right to defend itself. And you, and of course, Hamas to try and negotiate with terrorists. I mean, I just don't know in terms of, how, people can sort of insist that, we should. But the point is that, the United States needs to come together and be as strong for Israel as possible, because that's the only true ally we have in the region, and we need to recognize that. And I think that's the reason why we need to do everything we can to be as supportive as we can. And it's amazing how in the early stages that I used to hear about security, and when I was in school, and a friend of mine who's Jewish, and he used to tell me about the security, and I listened, but it didn't really register until I went to Israel. And then after that trip, I came back and I knew exactly what he was talking about. But before, he was my friend, so I was courteous, But the point is that once you go and you see, then you know that what they're saying is real.
Absolutely. I was on a helicopter about a week ago in Israel, going from Gaza to Jerusalem. And, that was an amazing experience, because it took us 20 minutes to get from Gaza to Jerusalem in a helicopter. And the country is so small. It was like you begin to realize how vulnerable they are. It's look, everyone out there, I don't mind begging and pleading. I'd get on my knees, asking everyone. This year is not the year, we have people running for governor in the it's a primary, and not that much is going on, but it is critical that you go out and you vote. And Ed Towns is, it's unequivocal. There's no issue. There's nothing to discuss. I could say to you that anyone who knows Ed Towns knows that anything that I have said here tonight is absolutely true. This guy's a real mensch, real decent, good guy who's been there for us all of these years. And we need to make sure that with God's help, he continues for as long as he wants to be there. So everyone out there, you must go out to vote. It's a week from this Tuesday. Go out to vote. Remember Ed Towns. That's the name that's most important right now, Ed Towns. Ed, it's always great to see you. Always fun to see you.
It's a delight, and always a delight to work with you. And I want you to know that coalition that you put together is just so important in terms of just understanding and being able to communicate and letting the young people see in terms of how blacks and Jews are working together.
Absolutely. Ed, thank you. Good luck, and with God's help, it'll be great. There's no doubt in my mind.
Ed, I'm going to be there on September 9th and make sure you win.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I look forward to continuing to work with you.
We'll be right back.